Today is the 28th of Tammuz, right? It's the site
28th.
of Elyashiv, Rabbi Yosef Shalom. Elyashiv Zatzal. Everyone knows why it's called Yosef Shalom, because his parents didn't have children for many years, and they had a very organized household. There was a neighbor who was upset with them, and one time she cut Rebbetzin Elyashiv's clothesline, and all the clothes fell in the mud, and she kept completely quiet. In any event, this neighbor's child got sick very, very soon afterwards, and he was like on the brink of death. And she was asked, "Did something happen? Did you do something?" She mentioned what happened. She had to immediately go to the Rebbetzin Elyashiv and ask Mechila. She did, and she was mocha right away. And the Rebbe said, "Because you were quiet, because you were Mosef Shalom, so you'll have a child who is Mosef Shalom to the whole world, Rabbi Yosef Shalom Elyashiv Zatzal." Now, most of you are pretty young, comparatively, and probably if you knew Rabbi Yeshua was probably like the very, very end of his life when he was in his late 90s, 100. Remember we had a bris here in the call. Anyone remember that? In his base medrash? There was a bris. And so it must have been 100, 102 was Rabbi Yeshua Banchik. And someone asked him a shayla about tearing kriya at the kosel, being mocked. Were you there? Anyone was here?
He came, Rabbi Elyashiv came?
No, you had to go to his base medrash. And someone asked him if you can mock your shirts to somebody when you go to the kosel, so you don't have to take kriya. And it was 102, you know. He said, Harama Gamura. Even his old age, he was still, his elder years, I should say. But Lamaisa, it's very, very interesting about Rabbi Yashiv, and I felt I had to speak about it today for a few reasons. Number one, because in Yana Diyoma. My Rosh Koilo, Rav Yitzhak Kaufman, Shlita, so he did Shemush by Rabbi Yashiv many years before he became in the public eye. He would go to him Erev Shabbos, like a couple hours before Adlaka, and just sit for him an hour, 2 hours, and ask him Shabbos. And it was very, very mainstream. A lot of kulas. Who told me this? Rav, the Binyan Shabbos. What's his name? You know Binyan Shabbos, the Sefer? Okay, Binyan Shabbos. Anyway, he told me by Rabbi Yashiv, Bora didn't exist. So many kulas. It was very mainstream. And there was a certain point, I don't know when it was exactly, where he started to become much, much more machmir, right? And I always wonder, what it was. And Morgenstern, he didn't tell me, but he said, there was a certain point where he held that the door needed to become more machmir, right? And I found, as I was teaching this year, Evan Shlema to the girls, in Parak Yud Aleph Zion, Reb Revda is very marach on this in his book about the 3 weeks and 9 days. The Gra says like this: since the generations are going down, you read this at Doros, the Eruv Rav miskabrim, and the Eruv is getting stronger. Lefikach hitzrichu chachmei hador b'kol dor v'dor ligdor gedaros v'siyagim chadashim. They always have to make new gedarim, new siyagim. Ligdor apirtzos shenifra to Eruv. We spoke last week about the idea of Pirtz's Getter, right? Parts Getter, right? So the Eruv Rav, right, are constantly trying to be Parts Getter and destroy the Jewish people like that. The job of the Chachmei Ador, part of the job of Chachmei Ador, is to be Magdir those, what do they say? Matzah Pirtza D'chuya Migdor Bamils. To strengthen the generation thing. Now you have to know how to do it because too many chumras, riboy chumras, as we always say from Rosh Hashanah, it's not good. But there are certain areas, and Reb Revda is very marach in his sefer, especially in the 3 weeks. I don't know if we spoke about this on Thursday when we gave the shir about parts getter, but I spoke about it on Friday, that Basar in the 9 days, it's a pella, because an oval is not also to be Basar. Right? I remember my wife was an oval, people were bringing Basar all the time. It's a din in the Suda Mafsekes, the Brisker Rav is Mechadish. It's like Mesa Mutalafanav. Erev Tisha B'Av is like Mesa Mutalafanav, and therefore you can't eat meat and wine. Even in the afternoon of Tisha B'Av, you can eat meat and wine. Right? The Suda, right before the Suda Mafsekes, they took it and they extended it for Shua Shechabo, 9 days. And that is that says Rev Brevda, is because of the Erev Rav, because the incredible force they have. And I don't know if you're following Israeli politics, but next week it's supposed to be the final kriyah, of this new judicial system in Israel, and the left is going crazy. Yeah. What? It's okay. It's a reform of the judicial system because right now it's anti-Semitic. The Jewish rule is anti-Semitic, yeah, and it's going to become more normalized. Let's say,
right now
like
there's
that.
a law called the Knesset that the Supreme Court has the right to cancel a law by saying it's irrational.
Right,
without
exactly,
any constitutional
exactly, and
right.
also the minhag.
That's it.
The minhag for many doros has been to choose left-wing things. I think they allow one religious person on, yeah, and therefore, basically, any rule which has anything to do, with anything religious or right-wing is almost automatically possible. I think that I heard like maybe 20% can get through. Okay, that's the basic. You want more? You can speak to Shmuel Goodman. Someone sent me a 10-page email on it. But in any event, the point is that it's a battle. And last week, one of these demonstrations went on, and there was an ambulance had to get through, and they wouldn't let the ambulance go through, and the person died in the ambulance. So here what's going on. This is the Eruv Rav. There's nothing to talk about. Yeah, it's Pasha. This is Eruv Rav.
The way the Eruv explains the Eruv Rav.
What?
It's proving they're the Eruv Rav.
No.
Those guys are like the dregs of society. They're not a threat to Judaism. Nobody wants to be like that. The Eruv Rav are the people within.
No, the Quran says there are 5 types of Eruv Rav. You can check over here because we got a different time. It's not sure about the Eruv Rav. But I'll go upon him. Efsher, this is where Rebbe Elyashiv was coming from. It could be, I'm suggesting. Yeah. Maybe he had many, many reasons, right? He felt like this is really what the Torah wanted. And it could be, we live in Eretz Israel, maybe that
can't be, because that would be Pnei between that Keller. He changes
What?
their psak in order to Pnei from Nazis. That can't be correct.
I heard from a number of people. You have to know what he really meant, There's a, how do you say that? I'm not going to say it but there's a little bit of truth in everything, right? If you hear something, there's probably some truth in it, What? Yeah. Look, what does it mean? 1 second. Let's get this clear. What does it mean? Achsheduri. When I was a chassan, 32 years ago, 32 years ago. So I learned from the Sefer Taras Bas Yisrael, which my son just learned with Rabbi Muller, and they learned there that the Orzer was a chumrah. It was from the Chazon Ish. Okay, so since then, Achri Mos Kedoshim, the Chazon Ish only meant that for Palabatim, it wasn't for Bnei Torah, etc. It changed. Now the Iker Minhag is like the Orzer. Okay, I'm not saying yes or no, but there is such a thing as Achshedera, that the generation is going up in their observance. Yeah, who said this? I heard this from somebody very hush in Chicago, who heard it from her first. So when I first went to Chicago, he said what was B'diavad in New York was Lat Chilu in Chicago when it started. Yeah, and I saw her first a few months ago, and I asked him this. He said yes, but now it's different, right? Achshedera, the community changes, the society changes. People came here right after the Holocaust.
According to the and according to the Mosque together.
Right.
100 years ago.
Sephardim and Ashkenazim are makbid on glad to be glad, both according to the Mosque and the Maccabi.
Okay.
Whereas 100 years ago, they were doing the coolest under a law and the Shulchan.
Okay, so you see it's Achshedor. You see many things Achshedor.
So, what it is, or is that people's your Shemayim is going up, or is it just that there's so much abundance that it doesn't infringe on anything to be even the most modern?
Yeah, look, okay. To understand it, so you have to be a little bit Israeli, It's a little bit of a personality issue. I think, one time I was by Israel, and Israeli came in with a B'dikas Mara, and it was completely white. I mean, I looked at it, I took a magnifying glass, and suddenly there was nothing there. And Rav Israel said, it's fine, it's winter. But it's a shaila, right? He says, yeah, it's a shaila, but it's winter. There's nothing on it.
That doesn't be nervous. I've met plenty of Israelis who prefer the most makel opinion in existence. And one person says,
okay. Anyway, look.
Tell me that it's also, tell me it's mutter, and tell me why.
Okay. Anyway, that's also Akshadori. That's a higher Madrigan. So. Okay. Let's go on here. Okay. So I'm suggesting, Ikka, what I want to say, is that this, which I heard many times from Rav Rebda, that we're in a tukufa now where we need it and we see it. Rosh Hashanah always says from the Zohar says that the Eruv is like a fire. You ever watch the candles, like when they're right at the end, and then right before they go out, they go, and he said that's what's going to be with the Eruv, the Sof Yamav. And we see that now. They realize like they're finished. If this law goes up until now, how long has it been this is going on like this? I don't know, 30, 40, since the state of Israel. Yeah, with the left wing court system. Yeah, and now like they're going to lose it. Yeah, they're not going to be able to just knock out every single thing from right wing government at all. Okay, so it's difficult for them. Yeah, so this is like their last stand, and it's interesting that it's coming up during the 9 days. Okay, so now. Lamaisa, that was one reason why I want to talk about it now. The second reason is B'ezrat Hashem tomorrow I'm giving Mar Makomos about an interesting shaila, which Rabbi Goodman was ma'ared to me a few months ago. By Bittul Rov, do we go? I mean, it's all the Achronim speak about. Bittul Rov, do you need twice as much? Right, by Lach and Yavish, it's a question, or is enough a little bit more? Okay, it's massive. I'm going to have at least 8, 10, maybe 12 pages Mar Makomos on it. Yeah, and there's no. We've been working on it for let's say 2 days already. We don't have a clear mahalach. I was like looking for. I spent 3 hours on the Marashah. The Marashah takes you 3 Gemaras, and this thing runs Pshat. Well, the question is by Bittul Barov. Yeah. Chad betray. There's one Gemara in Shas in Gimel. It says Chad betray. Does that mean you need 1 and 2, meaning 2 and 4, 3 and 6? Do you need twice as much for Bittul? Yeah. Which is, or is it enough a little bit more? 51:49. What? What, 3 out of 4? You mean? It's the Rabban. The Marshal learns the Raisa. But Paz is the Rabban. Anyway, I'll go put him that side. That's for tomorrow and Wednesday, right? But the point is like this. The point is, so how do you do? We just saw the Chachma Salam. He's not Machriya, And I'm like grappling. Maybe tomorrow, maybe by Wednesday, we'll find some sort of Mahalik, some sort of Kivun. How to learn a Sugya to find the Raya, right? But how do you deal with such a Sugya? Chachma Salam just brings 2 Shitas down. Right? You have Minchas Yaakov on one side, you have the Chazon Ish as a massive kula over here. But the point is like this. The point is, so how do you deal with that? Right? So Morgenstern told me, right? And I think, I don't want to say this because it's too controversial. But Lamaisa, Rav Morgenstern, Rav David Morgenstern was one of the people who Rav Elyashiv was so machiyad they could trust him. That's what he was really saying. Yeah. So he told me Rav Elyashiv's shita was that you can't be matter something unless it's mukhrach. It has to be mukhrach. I remember, you don't remember, there was once no kindness. You had to go and lug these big, heavy leaves, remember this? And put them on top of your sukkah. To build a sukkah was a lot of work, right? Today you just go to the store and buy kindness. How much you want? 3 meters, 2 meters. Right? But for 10 years, Rav Elyashiv was not willing to matter kindness, any type of schach. Because there was a shoyl in the Rashba was musupik, it was Gzeres Tikra. Right? Finally, they came across with the kindness, it was matter. Yeah? But it had to be mukhrach by him. And there's always throughout the doors been such a mahalach. It's called Yiri Hara. The Yuraim went with that mahalach. Others also, you see poskim throughout the door, they went with the mahalach. It wasn't the Rov, right? The Rov poskim, see the Mishnah Berurah, they go with Rov Deyas, Rov Binyan, Rov Minyan, right? It doesn't have to be 100% mukhrach, because there are very few things that are 100% mukhrach. Yeah? But Lamaisa, we have to appreciate where Russia was really coming from. So the first thing I want to tell you is, a lot of Rav Elyashiv's pictures are very scary. It's like this. It looks really, but he was the most idle person I ever met in my life. I remember I was at a bris. It was Daniel Spetner. You know who he is, Rabbi Spetner. It's Rabbi Spetner's husband. Yeah. Anyway, so he was whatever. I was talking for 10, 15 minutes, and I told him about my accident. And do I make the bracha of Shas Lineis? Because Rav Shlomo Zalman said I shouldn't make it. And when I told him the story, he almost fainted. He was so adi nefesh, when you would talk to him. And I just watched him saying Aleinu, and it was unbelievable adinus and nefesh. It was really, you see what Torah does to a person. You see how he was and how he spoke. There was one person who used to come frequently. I heard this from the people in the Chutzner. And he would just hack and hack. He would ask the same question over and over and over again. And Rabbi Elyashiv would just very patiently answer him again. And he would ask the same question, answer again. And sometimes 10, 20 times. Eventually the Chutzers threw him out, because you can't, if you have a Chutzner, it's one of the jobs is to throw out people like that. But he was just such amazing midos. And he would have keep doing it if he, you'd say about the Chazon Ish the same thing. So he was an amazing person, right? Kak Shamati, that 200 years ago he would be Adam Gadol. And I heard from someone who asked him a shayla about the Holocaust Museum in Los Angeles, And it was a very complicated shayla about oil atuma, right? And you go in, can a coin go into this? And there was 50 different points in the museum. He showed him a paper with a diagram, and in 5 seconds he says, like this. He passed me all shayla. right? He had oilos on his fingertips, like we know, like, I don't know, Hilchas Bishul, hopefully. Or we're learning that, hopefully, Kuftes. Right? Hopefully, right? When you're in the Sukkah, he had oilos in the Goyim, right? Who is it? Rabbi Elyashiv said, okay, Rav Chaim finishes Kol Kulu every year. My husband finishes Shas every 3 months, Okay, maybe he didn't learn as much as Rav Chaim. But the point was, that Rabbi Elyashiv, he was gadol ba'anakim, L'maisa, when he was together with Rav Avadia, I think we could say this, I think it's fair to say it, there's no one hugging Klal Yisrael today. There's no one who could get up and say this and everyone will listen. When Rabbi Elyashiv had a suffix about the shetels, which my opinion on shetels. If you don't, you'll find out next month when we do Kavua, right? What it is. Just look in Reb Belsky Sefer. But the point is that when he said it, every shetel in Yerushalayim came off for 1 week. Now, I don't know if you know what that accomplishment is, because you have women who are menahel of seminaries, and these women are like, if they don't run the world, like maybe one step below God. And Lamaisa, as soon as Rabbi Elyashiv said, everyone took their shades on, right? And they put snoots on for a week until it was clarified, right? That was real hanhaga. It was real hanhaga of Klal Yisrael together with Avadia when they were nifter. There's nobody. Rav Sternbach told me today, right? I asked him by this big demonstration they had, can you make the bracha of on 600,000 people? So he said a chiddush like he always does. He said, you need to have a Manik Yisrael. You need to have Manik Yisrael. All of Klal Yisrael has to be covered to one person. He said, it's certainly not me. Now, I don't understand that, because I don't understand that. I don't think there's anybody on the face of the earth today, right, who is as big as Rav Sternbach. Okay, maybe because he's on Ada, maybe that puts him out a little bit. It's a different camp. Maybe because he's a Machadish. Maybe that also. Maybe because he speaks English. I don't know what it is, but somehow I don't understand why every night. Now look, I down by him Shabbos. He gets about 50 people there Shabbos afternoon. But there should be thousands of people. When I once went to speak to Rav Chaim, I spoke to him a few times. But one time they said, you're 27th in line as he's walking out of the base medrash, you're number 20. And like as I was walking out, I was like almost trampled. I said, I can't do this. Okay, I just like muvatar on that, right? But why? So Rav Chaim used to say, like, why aren't people running after Sternbach? Okay, sorry, but it was clear. The godless of.
I used to say, why aren't people running after
Rav Sternbach? Right? They write on the sheet Posach Hador. They heard that from Chaim. He said, he's Posach Hador. Anyway, I was at the Chasna where he said it. They had some sort of shidduch together. Anyway, Al Kapanim, the thing is like this. The thing is, though, he was Yirei Hora, right? He was Yirei Hora, which means not that he was afraid. Right? I want to tell you a Gabaldik Akasha once, which I heard from a Brevda, right? It was one of the few times in his life where Brevda said something, a compliment. So he asked, it was in a shir, and he asked a question. He said, why is it, I think maybe I said this over by Yochanan's bris, said it by the bris, why was it that by Har Sinai, there had to be kafaleim hargagiyas, but by Mordechai and Esther, the Mekabel Achashvik Ba'ava, right? Lamaisa, it's clear Dor Dea was bigger. Yeah? You hear the question? Why can't? So what's the answer? Anyone know? Whoever answers gets a Torah.
So there wasn't okay something about the heat?
What? And therefore? Okay. I want to say the same thing, but just opposite. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, but it's good. It's right, Mahalach. Lamaisa, just the opposite. Look, this is what I told Reb Rav. Then he liked it very much, and I think this is very matim for Rabbi Elyashiv, right? For us, sometimes it's very easy for us to be medical, because we know nothing. Right? Imagine Rabbi Elyashiv, he was chazering all of Shas every 3 months. Right? I don't think he ever learned Shulchan Aruch straight. Agav, he's in the sugya, so he looked up the Shulchan Aruch Kashamati. Yeah. But Lamaisa, he was holding it so deep, that for him, like he understood what it meant to say a kula. For us, we're so lat holding. So okay, again, I'm not Chas Hashem kind of put down the door of Mordechai and Esther, but compared to Dor Dea, like it was. They were called Dor Dea for a reason, right? They understood so clearly what it was that it was harder to be makabel, the Torah, right? And that was Rabbi Elyashiv, right? He understood it has to be mukhrach, right? We can't just go say, especially because like something like kindness, this is called adoris. Probably I'd be as goyal, people are going to be using kindness. So he didn't want to have any pickbook, And that was his mahalach. That was his mahalach, and What?
That it's a very big accomplishment to go from no almost Shemaim to almost Shemaim Hero. And it's another step to go from almost Shemaim Hero to Mirava, and they're both achievements. And then to do.
You could say that. You could say all that, but I'm telling you what I said in her brother was. I just wanted to bring that point out, right? That we think, okay, we can be making on Rabbi Yashav's machmer, right? So obviously we're bigger than him, right? Call it the but it's just the opposite. Rabbi Yashav was machmer because he understood every single side. Now, look, in Klali Halacha, I think the rove generally don't go. From what I've seen, yeah, from the maybe thousands and thousands of poskim that I've seen in my life, yeah, it seems to me the majority don't go like that. It seems like that's the miyat mahalach, yeah, but it's a mahalach. And that was his mahalach, so it wasn't tied to the mahalach. Yeah? His big Talmud, Rev Steve Eber, told me once, I asked him, I said, learn the sugya and see how you come out. That's really, and part of Rabbi Yeshav's godless was he knew if he had a shver shaila, and it was bein al mechavera, he would send people to Rav Shlomo Zalman and the Sitz Elyashiv. Right? He would send them to the Rabbin. He says, you don't have to accept my psak. Right? You don't have to accept it. Mechates, you should accept my psak. I once had a shaila, right? It was Lagabi, this organization, which is called OA, Overeaters Anonymous. Yeah, and I had heard that it was a problem of Nosrut, Christianity. So I went and asked him myself, and he was walking home from a bris. It's actually my Rosh Kol, it's a Calvin. I walked with him, and as I asked the question, he kept screaming, Nosrut. So I asked the question in a different Nosach, yeah, and he said the same thing. I tried that like 6 or 7 times, and finally I just stopped and said, well, Rav, it's ma'od chashuv, It's like, this is really, really affecting the woman very, very much. He stopped and said, okay, so she should ask a Rav. And in other words, there was a gvul, right? And even in Yiri Hara, there was a gvul. If it's going to interfere seriously with somebody else's life, then even your shita, right? The real sign of a shita, which is l'shem shamayim, l'finis daiti, Safrani always tells me is sneas, right? If you see somebody's acting with sneas, then you know he's l'shem shamayim. He told me sneas b'penimis and money b'chitzonis, right? And I see, like, I was at a shiur last night. He gave to Balabat. He treats everybody like his equal. He's the Rav of 80 shuls in Eretz Yisrael, and he talks to people. I had to speak to him. I got him like as he was walking up the stairs for 10 seconds down and up. But nicely, he's becoming more and more busy. But Rav Elyashiv, if the shita takes over, yeah, and you're meshubed to the shita, then that's not emes, yeah, right? If you go with the shita, but there's times when you put the shita aside. Finis daiti, that's really emes. So I was like so impressed, right? And look, usually when I keep hacking, Rav Shlomo Fisher, I hacked him for a haskama. He said, now I'm not giving you a haskama, I want you to take your name out of the sefer and never ask me again. Okay, can't win them all. But the point is that the fact that he said, okay, if I'm machber ad kan, right? But in such a case, then you have to ask a different Rav or ask a different Rav. That's a sign of really of a true Adam Gadol. Yeah, true Adam Gadol. Okay, look, we could talk about his learning. Who told me this? Someone told me today. Be Magdi Rabbi Yasha. Just right. He learned on a piece of paper. And someone told me that. You told me that? No, someone told me. Anyway, look, he was a masman otzim, right? He left his daughter, his daughter married Rabbi Israel, right? And after the chuppah, or the first dance, he left. He came, he put his coat on, and he walked out. So Shlomo Zalman came up to him and said, Rabbi Yosef Shalom, are you going somewhere? He says, yeah, I have Seder tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I have to go to sleep so I can wake up at 2. I've been doing this for the past 60 years. Yeah? So he said, I paskin that you have to stay. So he stayed. Yeah? But you see, Lamaise, he was matzmid otzim. Lo pasik girsa mipumia. Yeah? And still, the way he dealt with people was extremely, extremely edel. Yeah? It was with the greatest edel. I heard once a psak from him. He said that if a lot of people, someone calling out for a base avol, no one wants to dive in there. Because first of all, it's not in shul, and who knows, and then it's going to drag until they get a minyan. He said, no, it's better to dive in a base avol. It's better to dive in a base chesed. It's chesed, right? He says chesed is an overriding factor by tefillah, yeah? And Lamaisa, look, he didn't get the, necessarily the press that he should have gotten, Finis Daiti, yeah? But he was an incredible, incredible person. And there's so much that we could be spoiled from him. Look on the yard sites. It says when Adam Gadol's nifter, so his meters become available. On the yard site, the neshama comes back to the world, and we could all have an achiz in this. And I think especially during the 9 days, right? When we see like next week is really the final showdown with the Eruv, it's very interesting that it comes out, in the 9 days, because it says if you have to go to court with a Nachri, then, try not to do it in the 9 days. And okay, Hamev and Yavin. But the point is, that to these times, especially at the end of the Zman, Moshe Shapiro used to say the end is always weak. It says, Mechal Shavel Sal Safar, right, to guard the borders. Because the borders, that's the end of the Zman. Anyway, we finished, okay, some Chazar. There's a special Yetzirah for the end of the Zman and the beginning of the Zman. So it's really a time we can think about Rabbi Elyashiv's life and his Gishat Torah, right? There's one famous story about him when, who was it? Yosler Rosenblatt came, and he was going to go hear him sing, and he walked over there, and like he said, I just can't do it. He walked home, And it's interesting because he has a grandson who davens by us in yeshiva sometimes, and he just he doesn't like the chazanas, So you see, he put into his blood. He really liked music, and he put into his blood, this Indian thing. Okay, not that music is bad, chas v'shalom, but the point is that he worked on himself, and he worked on himself, and he worked on himself. He was once offered $1 million to learn with a balabas, I don't know, once a week or whatever it was. He says, but I learned better by myself. Money was absolutely nothing to him in this realm, right? Now he did become the head of the Rabbanut, which you're not allowed to say that, right? But I hold you are. I hold, what?
It was a shitload. He was involved in after
Right, exactly. Right. Okay, but that's been erased from the history books. I hold it's not a problem, some hold it is. But anyway, so look, he did things. He did, he had a salary. He got a salary from the government. Right? When it came to his Torah, it doesn't matter $1 million. He says, but I learned better. Right? Someone once passed this house. I heard him learning. It was Yudua. So he said, I was impressed with Rabbi Elyashiv, but his chavrusa was amazing. You know who Rabbi Elyashiv's chavrusa was? No. Himself. Right? He would say the Gemara, and then he would be the only chavrusa. So the guy was more impressed by the chavrusa than Rabbi Elyashiv himself. So that's something really. Anyone who learns, I was learning on Shabbos myself, it's hard because you're as good as you are, So it always depends who you are. So on the yard site today, we could really mechazik. We can mechazik in Chasmana. That's always a good thing to do, especially 9 o'clock Seder starts, 9:30. Oh, 9 o'clock starts, 9:30 starts. These are Devarim you're doing. For Elyashiv was 2, but the point is that the fact that Torah upgeschafts the mensch, right? Like Rav Olboy used to say, Eli Shor, is that the women in Mitzrayim, they would stand on the fence to see, this is Surah Sa'ad, right? And I remember those incidents, the times I had to speak to Elyashiv, I said, this is really, he's spyless from seeing a person who's made by the Torah. Rebrev does that sal. The doctor that was metab with him said, I saw many Homo sapiens, he said, but I only saw a person when I met the rabbi, right? And this is an incredible thing. We can't underestimate. The rabbi, when he had an operation, the doctor came from Chutz La'aretz, he went there, right? He asked him, he's saying, how do you say thank you in English? He said, no, you can tell me, I'll tell him. He says, no, you can't say thank you through a shliach, right? I want to express myself, my tremendous gratitude to this doctor, yeah? And the Rabbi Elyashiv, he was such a masmid that his personality sometimes got covered up by that. Yeah, but the real essence of an Adam Gadol is that the Torah goes in. The Gemara Nida says, "Kama no Adam shelibo k'shmaitza." Yeah, shelibo k'shmaitza. When I saw this from Reb David Feinstein, he said, if you learn the sugya and you haven't become more sensitive to Yisomim and Almanas, you have to learn sugya again. It didn't impact you. It has to go into your blood. It has to become part of your person. It has to change you as an individual, right? And that was Rabbi Elyashiv, the fact that the Torah made such an impact on him. Like one Hasidic Rebbe said about him, he says, Hashem was always with him. There's no time that he's not learning Torah. It's like Mamish Lo Pasuk, Girsa, Nipumya, and together with the way he dealt with people, that, look, obviously his wife was amazing, right? During Sheva Brachas, he was already learning full star. Right? I don't even know, did he come to the Sheva Brachas? I don't even know if he showed up. But Rabbi Levine used to go visit his daughter. He said it's Kedai. It's Kedai. On his deathbed, on his wife's deathbed, so he showed up. It was the first time he'd ever come to the hospital ever. And because, he was always learning. So his wife sent him home. She said, I put up and I was Mavatar until now. I'm not going to Mavatar on this. Go home now. Yeah, and they say she was nifter after Seder Shlishi. The Levi was at 11 p.m. I remember, right? So she shouldn't. That was incredible, mysterious nevish. But it's hard for us. We hear about such great people, and we think like, what do we get? What can we get from ourselves? And the answer is, I once learned this from Rav Mendel Weinbach. Right, when I put out my book, Sefer, Price and Integrity, I said, should I bring these high stories? Like Elyashiv, hasn't been such a 200 years, and Chazot Shas, I don't know how many times, and learning from 2 a.m. till 10. So he says, because it gives us she'ifas, right? A person sees such an individual in Torah and Yerushalayim and Midas and Anhaga and Psak and clarity. So it gives us she'ifas. I hold that's like so important. Like if I would ever have to go to a place where there were no Gedolim, it would be so hard for me because just like being in the presence of an Adam Gadol, like it's mala person to say, this is what you can achieve. And the Yitzhar is constantly coming to us and saying, you're nothing, right? You're nothing. You're absolutely nothing. You're not going to get anywhere. Look, you've been 5 years in Kol Torah. How much do you know? I met an Avreich once. He said, I've been learning Kol 15 years and I know nothing. Nothing. Like, I don't know, he's proud of it. But I said, that's sad. Like you should know things. Even though like there's, in yeshivas they teach you how to learn, right? My Rosh Kodesh used to say, but you have to eventually learn, But it's not just about slugging up svaras. You have to learn something, you have to know something, and you need to have she'ifas to become an Adam Gadol. And each person, who they are, the educational system in this country is geared for producing gedolim. At least that's what they say, right? But really, lemaisa, what makes an Adam Gadol? Right? How come you can have people of tremendous kishron, tremendous hasmada, tremendous everything, and they don't make it because it's siyata d'shmaya. In the end of the day, it's going to be siyata d'shmaya. So, B'ezrat Hashem, we should be zoicha on this special day, in the daven mincha. Daven to Hashem, they should open up the otros of Chachma, right? I don't mean the computer program, right? Lamaisa, it's a gift. In the end of the day, Torah is a gift, right? And I always say, Shirat Tzitzav and Chal Avasenu. How much Torah you get. We heard this from Rav Albaum. He said it's how much you want it. You have to put the amal in. You have to put the amal in, and you have to work at it. But in the end of the day, it's going to be a gift, right? It's a gift, right? And what does it say about Lakim Megir says Siyata D'Shmaya? Okay, you need Siyata D'Shmaya, but in the end of the day, it's a gift. And the amount of ritzoy that you find from Hashem, that's when you get the gift. That's our job. Our job is to be maratze, nachas ruach, as Rav Vosner said about Rav Shach when he was niftar. I went to the Espedim. It was the most incredible Espedim I ever heard. He just said the word nachas ruach like 100 times. He said Rav Shach gave nachas ruach to the Borei Olam. That was Rav Elyashiv. It was just had so much nachas ruach that such a person, exists on this planet. So, B'ezrat Hashem, I hope we could all inspire ourselves during this time, which it's hard, it's hot, it's the end of Zman, and there's a lot going on. It's not so easy. I was just working with my son last night. We're putting on a sefer for the chasna, and we're going up psak from Rav Ezriel, who's Rav Elyashiv's son-in-law. And Rav Ezriel said, I'm very masupik of people Yotzi Kiddush today, right? That they should listen Friday night from the beginning of Kiddush to the end of Kiddush. It's hard for me to believe that their attention span. And I heard this from people working in Kiruv. They said the average attention span today is maybe 5 seconds. Who is it? Charles Lebo. He said it's 5 seconds, which is on a slide. Right? So look, it's a weak door, right? But Rav Dan always says from Katzkel, he said no, in the weak door is when you can steig, right? Because lefi our katnis is our godless. The fact that we still keep going and we can strive for such big madrigas, it's a big nachas ruach to Hashem. So Hashem should give us siyata d'shmaya and answer all our tefillas. And we zochet to go to shleima Tisha B'av. Could be a yantiv. Yeah, it's not too late. Right? And if you haven't signed up yet for, I have to get the email. Wow, Machsan Lepi, 1 hour on Tisha B'av. Ein lecha adam she'en lo shah. 1 hour. Sign up. If you use the internet, it's at Machsan Lepi. I have to get the email. to sign up for it. But 1 hour on Tisha B'Av, just careful not to speak any Lashon. In the entire world, starting in California, I think at 6 a.m. and ending in Australia at 11 p.m., right? 1 hour, they're going to go through the entire world, no Lashon Hara. This is an incredible thing. I think if Rosh was to hear this, he would like sing and dance. Any God would. B'ezras Hashem, we should always starve to that, and we should always also see the Gula B'Kar of Amen King. Amen.